Okay, today's notes are going to be on order of operations. You would probably know this as PEMDAS. And the way it's written down here is okay. I'm going to go ahead and write it like this, just because I think it's a little bit more clear for students that first you need to go through parentheses, then you need to go through exponents. And actually, multiplication and division are kind of a tie, right? So it's not like one is more important than the other. So what you're going to do is you're going to go from left to right as you see them in the problem, not as you see them here, right? Because over here it looked like multiplication always first and then division. No, no, no. It's whatever you see on your problem, you're going to go from left to right. And then at the very end, you're going to do addition, subtraction, same thing. Addition and subtraction is a tie, but whatever you see on your problem going from left to right, that's the way you're going to attack that problem. Okay. So now that we have an idea of what you're supposed to do, let's go ahead and run through these problems relatively quickly. Make sure you have some highlighters out just so you can follow along with me. It says find the value of each numerical expression, follow the order of operations to finding each value. So again, I'm going to go ahead and write PEMDAS. I'm going to look for parentheses first. There are no parentheses. I'm going to look for exponents next. There are no exponents. I'm going to look for multiplication and division, and I see it. So multiplication and division. I see a division problem right here. That says 12 divided by 2. 12 divided by 2 is just 6. So there's going to be 16 minus 6 plus 4. And as far as multiplication and division is concerned, I think I'm done with those. I'm going to hop over to addition and subtraction. Now, this is where we have to be careful because I know it says addition and subtraction, and I see a subtraction here, and I see an addition here. So I'm going to go ahead and go from left to right on the problem. Not here, but here. Which one showed up first from left to right? Well, the 16 minus 6 showed up first. So for addition and subtraction, I'm going to go from left to right. I'm going to subtract first. 16 minus 6, I end up with 10 plus 4, my answer is 14. All right, that takes care of the first one. Let's move on to the next one. I'm going to go ahead and write PEMDAS. I'm going to look for parentheses. I don't see any. I'm going to look for exponents. I don't see anything. I'm going to look for multiplication and division. I do see a multiplication problem. So I'm going to multiply those first. Remember, you just move the decimal one time to the right, which makes it 1,960 minus 26. And since there's only one thing left to do, I'm going to go ahead and subtract those, and I get 1,934. Okay, just like always, we're going to write PEMDAS here. I'm going to look for parentheses. I don't see any parentheses. Look for exponents. No exponents. Multiplication and division. I see a couple of multiplication and division. So how do I decide? I'm going to go from left to right. Whichever multiplication or division showed up first, I'm going to do that one first. It looks like the multiplication here showed up first. So let me go ahead and multiply 100 times 2. That gives me 200 divided by 40 minus 16 divided by 4. There's still a couple of division problems. So again, we're going to go from left to right, and I'm going to find the first multiplication or division, which is this one. 200 divided by 40. There's a trick where you can eliminate zeros when dividing like that. You take 20 divided by 4. That gives me 5 minus 16 divided by 4. I'm still not done with multiplication and division. I see another division problem here. 16 divided by 4 is going to give me 4. So I get a 5 minus 4, and the answer is finally 1. All right, so that takes care of the first 3 problems. The next 3 problems are going to do pretty much the same thing. It says find the value of each numerical expression, follow the order of operations when finding each value. The only difference here is now they're going to add in some exponents every once in a while. So I'm still going to write PEMDAS. I'm still going to look for parentheses, and I don't see anything. I do, however, see exponents. So let's handle the exponent here. 12 squared means 12 times 12, which is 144. So I'm going to write 56 minus 144 divided by 6 plus 4. I don't see any more exponents, so I'm going to move on to multiplication and division. I see a division problem right here. 144 divided by 6. If you did the long way, you would find out that that number is 24 plus 4. I am done with multiplication and division. Moving on to addition and subtraction. I see both. addition and subtraction. So how do I know which one to do next? Well, we're going to go from left to right. I see a subtraction problem first before I see the addition problem. So I'm going to focus on the subtraction problem. 56 minus 24, when I subtract those, what is that? That's 32. And then we're going to add 4, and that gives me a 36. Letter B, we're going to go ahead and do PEMDAS. I look for parentheses. I don't see any. I look for exponents. I see 2 exponents. I see this one, and I see this one. How do I know which one I do first? Well, just like before, the tiebreaker is always to go left to right. So I see this one first. Let's do that one first. So I'm going to go ahead and take 13 and square it. 13 times 13 is 169 times 10 minus 15 squared divided by 25. Now that I have that done, I'm not done with the exponents. I have a 15 squared here. 15 times 15 is 225, so 169 times 10 minus 225 divided by 25. All right, looks like we are done with exponents. Moving on to multiplication and division. I see a couple of problems. I see a multiplication and division, so I'm going to go from left to right, which means I need to do that multiplication first. So I'm going to multiply 169 times 10. We did that a little while ago, and we said that the answer was 1,690 minus 225 divided by 25. I am not done with multiplication and division because I still see a division problem here. 225 divided by 25 is going to give you 9. So this gives me 1,690 minus 9. And when you subtract those, you get 1,681. And we finish up that problem. All right. Almost done with that front page. Let's see. I'm going to write PEMDAS. I'm going to look for parentheses. I don't see them. I'm going to look for exponents. I do see exponents. I'm going to take that 4 and I'm going to square it. That's 125 plus 216 divided by 36 minus 16 times 6. I am done with exponents. We're going to now look for multiplication and division. I see, oops, sorry, I got to change my color here. I do see division and multiplication, so let's see. Where's the first multiplication or division? It's going to be right here as I move from left to right. So let's go ahead and take care of the 216 divided by 36. That answer is going to be 6. So I take 125 plus 6 minus 16 times 6. I am not done because I still see some multiplication over here. And I'm going to go 16 times 6, which is going to give me a 96. 125 plus 6 minus 96. I am done with multiplication and division. Moving on to addition and subtraction. And again, I see both an addition and subtraction. So how do I figure out which one do I do? I'm going to go from left to right. I see the addition first before I see the subtraction. So I'm going to go ahead and do the addition first this time. 125 plus 6, that's going to give me 131 minus 96. And when I subtract those, I should end up with 35. That takes care of the front side of the notes. We are going to move on to the back side. Just like before, we're going to find the value of each numerical expression by following an order of operations.
Attention, all teachers, please send any students with the last name of I through M to the ASB room.
Sorry about that. Looks like they needed to do an announcement in the middle of a video. Like I said, we're going to go ahead and start solving this. We're going to do PEMDAS here. And we're going to look for parentheses. I do see parentheses. The parentheses are right here. So now I got to ask myself, is there anything that I need to do inside the parentheses? And the answer is yes. They're telling me I need to add the 12 and the 112. So I'm going to go ahead and add them. I get 6 times parentheses 124. Now this is where I'm going to start confusing students a little bit, so it's really important we understand that what the question is being asked. First question is, do you see any parentheses? The answer is yes, I still see the parentheses right here. The next question that we're going to ask is there anything else that we need to do inside the parentheses? Well, inside the parentheses, it's just 124, so we are done doing whatever it was they asked us to do inside the parentheses. So I'm officially done with the parentheses, even though I still see them there, okay? Are there any exponents? Nope. Any multiplication or division? Yep, we're just gonna finish the problem. It's 6 times 124, and if we were to do it the long way, just like a quick review, we're gonna multiply 4 times 6 is 24, bring up the 2. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 2 gives me 14, bring up the 1. 6 times 1 is 6, and then you add the 1 that gives me a 7. My answer should be 744. All right, let's move on to the next one. We got 3 more of these PEMDAS problems, and then we're going to move on to something else. So we look, are there any parentheses? The answer is yes. And actually, inside the parentheses, they're asking me to do a lot of things. So this is where you need to start getting smart with your order of operations, right? Inside the parentheses, they're asking me to multiply 65 times 2 minus 32 divided by 4. The question becomes, what do we do first? Well, there are no more parentheses inside the parentheses. There's no exponents. There is a multiplication and division, and there's 2 of them. So you're going to go from left to right, and we're going to do this part first because that's the first thing I see as far as multiplication or division. So we're going to go 296 minus parentheses 130 minus 32 divided by 4. We ask ourselves a question again. Is there anything I still have to do inside the parentheses? And the answer is yes. Inside the parentheses, I still need to divide this 32 divided by 4. That's going to give me 8. 296 minus 130 minus 8. Are there any parentheses left? Yes. Is there anything to do inside the parentheses? Yes, they're telling you to subtract, so we're not done with the parentheses yet. We still got 296 minus parentheses 122. Is there parentheses? Yes. Is there anything to do inside the parentheses? Finally, our answer is no, which means we're done with parentheses. There are no exponents. There's no multiplication division. In fact, all we are asking us to do is to subtract 296 minus 122. And when I subtract those numbers, I get 174. So a little bit tougher when there's parentheses involved. Just know inside the parentheses, you're still following order of operations, okay? So last one, we're gonna go PEMDAS. Are there any parentheses? Absolutely there are. Inside the parentheses, they're asking you to do all of this. So you're going to follow order of operations inside the parentheses. Are there any exponents inside the parentheses? Nope. Are there any multiplication or division? Yep. And we're going to go from left to right because I see a few of them. So we're going to divide these first. When I divide those, I end up with 2 times parentheses. That's 125 times 2 minus 40 minus 28 divided by 4. There's still parentheses. I'm working with multiplication and division. I'm going to go from left to right because I see a couple and I see the multiplication right there. So we're going to go ahead and take care of that. 125 times 2 is 250. I get 2 times 250 minus 40 minus 28 divided by 4. I'm not done with multiplication or division. I know. Nope, 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 nope. Oh, it's right here. So we're going to divide the 28 divided by 4. That's going to give me 7. So I'm going to write this all down, except when I get to that green part, I'm going to write 7. 2 times 250 minus 40 minus 7. I think you guys should be okay with me shortcutting this middle part right here. I see addition and subtraction that's left over. So I'm just going to subtract the left to right, but I'm going to do all of it at the same time. So I'm going to go ahead and go 250 minus 40, which is 210. And then 210 minus 7 is 203. So I'm just going to do a double subtraction there just to save a little bit of time. Hopefully that did not confuse you. That's 2 times 203. And finally, we're done with the parentheses, and all they're asking us to do is to multiply these two together. 2 times 203, I get 406. And we're finally done with the order of operations. All right, we're down to combining like terms. It says combining like terms is a process of adding or subtracting like terms, terms that have the same variable part. That is really important. So let's go ahead and highlight combining like terms. That's the process of adding or subtracting, but they have to have the same variable part in order for you to do it. All you're going to do is add or subtract the coefficients, which is the number in front of the variable, and you're going to keep the variable part the same, okay? If the variable parts are not the same, you cannot combine those terms. So let's take a look at the first one. The first thing I'm going to ask myself is on the m and the 3m, are they the same variable? Yes, they're both m's. The other thing I want you to keep track of is if I don't tell you a number in front of the m, you need to know that that means there is one m. I mean, it's good that they're writing it as m, but you need to know that that means there's one of them, okay? So when they say m plus 3m, what they really mean is 1m plus 3m's. And if you have 1m and you add 3 more m's, that means you're going to end up with 4m's total. All right, let's take a look at the next one. The first thing I'm going to ask myself is, do they have the same variable? Yep, they're both r's. So really, all I need to do is add 4 plus negative 3. 4 plus negative 3 would be 1. So 4r plus negative 3r is 1r. And that's great for a 7th or 8th, maybe even an 8th grader. But honestly, at this stage of the game in high school, you do not write 1r. If you're talking about 1r, you're literally just going to say r. The 1 is implied, and we're done with that one. Same thing here. I have 8w minus w. I'm going to ask myself, do I have the same variable? The answer is yes. Remember that when I say w, what I mean is 1w. So they're asking me to have 8 w's and take 1 w away. Well, that will leave me with 7 w's. All right, 3 more problems and we're going to be done with these notes. I'm going to check this 9 and this 7y, and I'm going to say, hey, are those the same variable? The answer is no. That means you cannot combine the 9 with the 7y. However, this 9 is a regular number, and I can combine it with this regular number, this minus 2. 9 minus 2 is going to give me a positive 7, so I can combine those. As far as these 7y's, I can combine that with this minus 5y because they have the same variable. So we're just going to go ahead and subtract 7 minus 5. That ends up with a positive 2y. So I'm going to write it as a positive or plus 2y. On the next one, I'm going to check the 8y and the 2, and I'm going to say, do they have the same variable? The answer is no. That means I cannot combine these. You got to keep them separated. We're going to say that this is done. However, on the formative, if you write done, like it's not going to give you a valid answer. So on the formative, you would write 8y plus 2. Down to our last one, we're going to go ahead and combine like terms. Do I see any other x's besides these 5 x's? The answer is yes. I'm going to combine it with those 3 x's. That gives me a total of 8 x's. And then as far as the y's are concerned, I can combine these negative 4y's with these positive 6y's. And I end up with a positive 2y. Okay, those are all the notes for today. If you have any questions, feel free to ask or email me.